What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast 313. I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, and it has been another fantastic week of gaming, and we have a bunch of games to talk about today. I am joined by the Thai guy himself, Mr. Travis. How we doing, my friend?
McClunky. Nice to see you, Ains. Hello.
It's going to be an interesting show today. And of course, I am joined by not the lawman today, but I have it on good authority, someone who breaks the law a lot, honestly. So, Mr. Bitcast regular, host of the Xbox Expansion Pass, Mr. Luke Lore. How we doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. Happy to fill in. I'm sorry Hoag's under the weather, but I feel honored and appreciated that I was asked to come in, and I love hanging out with you guys, so it's good.
Yes, so for our viewers, Hoag, I woke up to a message from Hoag this morning that he was sick. Apparently got sick yesterday, got worse overnight, and so obviously he's not joining us today. But we had a last minute shuffle around. I reached out to some good friends, and Mr. Lore over here jumped in at last minute's notice. So thank you for jumping in, my friend. I really appreciate it. That way I don't have to just talk to Travis all show again, because that's nobody wants that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You get it?
So, but pretty quiet week in terms of news. But obviously the big topic is Black Ops 6. You know, everything moves out of the way. That's the biggest release of the year traditionally. So we're going to talk a lot about that. I've played quite a bit of that game so far. And we're obviously going to touch on the whole Game Pass launch, some of the stuff around Xbox and Microsoft's incentives around that too. So we'll touch on that. We've got the Yakuza TV show launched. Shame we don't have Dan here, of course, to talk about that, but I'll talk about it. And we've got a bunch of games to talk about as well, including a few reviews. So we will go ahead and get into that shortly. Of course, I do have Tide's Halloween picks here and some early super chats. No. Tide's picks, of course, were prior to knowing that Hoag was going to be out. So you'll have to bear with us on these. But it is Halloween. And I just want to be clear that I'm still going to wear my headset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I do here.
And Hoag is still going to have his hair, which is weird. It's very weird. It almost implies that he's wearing a toupee. Like I think
it very well could be. You know, we've never confirmed that it's not a toupee. So
I'll be honest. I think I'm the best jack-o'-lantern here.
I agree. Yeah. You definitely look the best here.
Yeah. Pretty good. My stem is pretty hot. That's a hot stem, dude. It's a sexy stem. You guys, Hoag doesn't have a stem at all. He just has his toupee.
No,
your stem's okay, Ains, but my stem,
it's more like a stub. Mine,
yeah, your little stub.
Yeah,
it makes it hard to pick up the jack-o'-lantern with a stub like that. You know what I mean? I got a handle. Pretty easy.
Oh my God, Ty! Thank you as always. We will share this atrocity with Hoag to make sure he sees it. But thank you, and of course, yes, it is Halloween season. My favorite time of the year, by the way. So I am excited. Let's get a couple early super chats.
Like the spooks, huh? You like?
Yeah, man! All about horror
my favorite
movies.
time of year, also. Right?
Oh yeah! Come on. Saw Smile 2 last week. Can I talk about Smile 2? Oh, so good.
We're on the Nun in the Conjuring universe. We started at the beginning because I don't do horror, but like the last 2 months I've just been in it. And I don't know why it clicked, but like I'm learning a lot about horror. So, and I know I've been talking to you privately about it, but it's been a good time.
Oh yeah, I can recommend endless horror movies. So we can talk more about that. But of course, we start off with an early super chat, and someone beat Googleman this week, by the way. Mr. Sandal. Get ready for it, Travis.
Enchantment. Enchantment. I say it to you. I respond in kind. Enchantment.
Now, this is from Dragon Age, right?
It is. Yeah.
So, do we have a bet whether or not this will be in Veilguard?
I would be really surprised if they're in Veilguard, but we can bet on it. Do you want to bet they're in there? You don't even remember the guy. It's sort of like
I don't.
It's a funny joke in Dragon Age, but I don't know. Something makes me think that they wouldn't do it again.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. But Sandal, thank you for the enchantment. Hopefully it works on our show today. And of course, Googleman is here to kick us off.
Googleman81, €10 super chat. Saw some Veilguard gameplay and it looks surprisingly fun, but also like a graphically updated fantasy Mass Effect. And I'm done with Clearasil, nerds.
I love how he always starts in gaming and then just takes a hard turn to something
Mhm.
completely unexpected. But glad to hear he's done with Clear Cell. Go, man. Congrats. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Veilguard before the end of the show, of course, with that being the big release next week. So we'll have a lot to say soon. But all right. Googleman, thank you. All right. So we've got quite a few games to talk about. I'm going to start today with you, Travis, because you reviewed a little game, and Luke may step aside. He may fall asleep during this, but you reviewed the new Arkham game, which is, as you mentioned last week, an exclusive to the Meta Quest, because Meta just said, we buy you, Mr. Developer, and we own you now. So, how is it? Is it everything you hoped it would be from a Arkham VR game?
Yeah, so I did not review this game. I just played it earlier. Somebody gave me.
I thought you were reviewing it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my boss reviewed it. I offered to do it, but Dan Stapleton, who's a big VR fan and also a big Batman fan, did the review. I actually don't know if the review is live yet, but he's posted about it on social and stuff. So, but I did get early access because I've got a buddy who works at Meta and just gave me early access. So I played it early. Yeah, if you liked the Arkham games, this is a pretty faithful reincarnation in VR. It has like kind of the rhythm-based combat system with counters and punching, and you're jumping around. It's got stealth sections where you're hanging out on top of gargoyles and taking people out and hanging them upside down, all that stuff. A lot of walking through vents. You got to do that in an Arkham game. And even stuff like, going around Gotham, and you can open your cape. There's a thing in VR where you go like this and it lets you glide through the air
really?
as Batman. So yeah, I mean, it is but for all intents and purposes, like a full Arkham game. I would say closer to the original recipe Arkham than a lot of the more recent games that take place in that universe, including Gotham Knights and the Suicide Squad games.
Universe.
What's that?
Gotham Knights is not in that universe. Same premise, but not in that universe.
Was
no.
So Suicide Squad is for sure.
Suicide Squad is in the Arkham universe. Gotham Knights is not.
Interesting.
It started as
I thought it was too, but I trust Luke on this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, those games I would say are both more of a deviation than this one, because this one has a very, like, how all the Gotham games focus on like a specific part of Gotham, geography. This one is like, whereas the first one's all the asylum and the second one is the city. This one takes place in between Origins and the first Arkham game, Arkham Asylum, and takes place almost entirely in Blackgate Prison, which is an area of Gotham in the Arkham universe that we didn't spend a lot of time in, but we heard a lot about. And so, yeah, it's cool. It's got an interesting story going on, couple twists and turns in the narrative, and if you missed the old Arkham games, it's a pretty faithful recreation of it. So I finished it on Thursday or Friday, but had a really good time with it. It's probably like 8 hours, maybe. I played it on hard, so maybe it took me a little longer. And then, just like the other Arkham games, there's like some collectibles you can go and hunt for and go back to old areas and find all the trophies and that sort of thing, if you're into that. I did not do that, but I had fun playing it, solving puzzles and being Batman. I also had my friend over because he's a huge Batman fan, and I was like, dude, you got to play this game. He came over. It's very funny to watch your friends being Batman and like turn around and like elbowing guys and getting in fisticuffs. And he also sweated a lot. So if you're looking for a workout, it can help you with that. But yeah, it's very cool. Definitely recommend playing it on hard, by the way, because it wasn't very challenging on hard. It had some areas where you could get messed up. But yeah, good game. I liked it. I don't know what Dan's review score is going to be, or he might have already posted a review score, but if I were reviewing it, I'd maybe give it a 7 or an 8, probably somewhere around there. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, fun game.
Very cool.
So my experience with Arkham has been fantastic. I was sent a MetaQuest 3S by a member of the Arkham team, which was really, it made me feel just incredible. And I've never played VR before ever. This is my first headset.
Oh, wow.
So it was really special. Like it felt special. And my wife, last night we ordered a Quest 3 because they sent us a 3S and we ordered a Quest 3. And so we pulled kind of my birthday money and stuff and ordered that. So it was just, I'm really excited because I'm several hours into Arkham Shadow. And for anyone who's unaware, Arkham is my favorite game series of all time. Higher than Halo, higher than Gears, higher than COD.
Calm down. All right.
But like to me, like it's just it is. I'm in a Batman chair. Like this chair is a Batman chair. And so like it is a very fun thing because everybody in my community has been so supportive in teaching me the world of VR, how to play it, what you need. Like you need to get a comfort strap. And like I got it. It means it really helps. And like getting the bands on the grips to make sure that like when you are elbowing and stuff, you don't let go because because VR is new and I trained in martial arts for so long, I'm trained like in my mind, I want to do it proper form, which is not necessary for VR. And like, I almost want to let go sometimes or switch my hand position. I'm having to learn that. But it's been really fun to explore the world of VR, find out the meta referral system, which circulates money in their ecosystem, but saves money as well, which has been really neat. But then also to get to play an Arkham game that is truly an Arkham game. Like Gotham Knight's not an Arkham game, felt like it at times. You could see where they were going to be that way at one point and then pivoted in development. Suicide Squad kicked me in the nuts as far as an Arkham fan, despite some incredible traversal and some cool elements. Not an Arkham game, despite being in the universe. This is like a true Arkham experience. And I'm just having an absolute blast, both learning VR and getting to play a new Arkham experience. And I don't know if it's because I'm Luke or because the VR is that good, but I am the Batman. So I will not play seated. I'm standing the whole time. I'm doing the martial arts. I will look like whenever the lighting is behind you and you get a shadow cast, you look like Batman. So there I am, like with my cape and like doing all these cool things and finger guns, like just having such a good
I will
time.
say one thing that is pretty funny about Batman VR is it makes you your actual height. So if you're like me and you're like 5'8", Batman is just 5'8". He's like shorter than everyone. And it's very funny. It's very funny to see like his big foreboding shadow. And then you walk up to like a guard and you're like, man, you're like 6 inches taller than me. I'm like I'm not a tall Batman at all.
Yeah.
So it's very funny.
I absolutely love it. Elu in chat saying it's not a glowing Batarang. No, the Batarangs are back there because they don't glow. But I did put the Arkham Knight statue right here. But the bigger thing that I am just enjoying so much is how welcoming, I guess, the XEP community has been in teaching me this stuff. I messaged Travis, I think maybe a week ago or so, just tips and tricks, little things, and then getting to learn this world. And so I just feel very fortunate in this realm to, after kind of being a jaded Batman Arkham fan, after Suicide Squad, without trying to bring up like any big stuff, this feels like an Arkham game. And so it's also opened doors for me to check out. Like I have waiting for me Resident Evil 4 VR. I'm really excited for that. They did a big sale. I got the Ghostbusters game for $5 because they're on a big sale. There's been like a AAA sale.
4 VR is because you're playing on the Meta Quest. It's the original version of Resident Evil 4. It's not the remaster. That one is exclusive to PlayStation, I believe.
It's exclusive to PSVR too. Yeah.
Which is weird. I'll be honest. That version of the VR version of Resident Evil 4 is like not as good as the one on PlayStation. But
really,
you have to. Yeah. I wish you. Yeah. If I would have known, I probably would have told you to not buy that one. But yeah.
But he can play Asgard's Wrath too.
Yes, that's on my.
And that's going to be my recommendation. Like, play, dude, that game. It's so freaking good. It's so freaking good.
They have MetaQuest Plus, which is like PS Plus or Games with Gold's equivalent. Yeah. And included in that is Asgard's Wrath too. And that to me was such a cool thing because you buy the unit, it comes with Arkham Shadow, and then MetaQuest you get 3 months of it. But included in that is Asgard's Wrath. Those are 2 of the top 3 best VR games according to what I've looked into. I've only played Arkham, mind you, but like that's really cool as a Quest fan.
Yeah, and now I think you in particular, I'm going to have a lot to relate to because now you own 2 VR headsets, which means you could do my favorite thing, which is go on VR dates with your wife with is stick. Like, for example, there's a golfing mini game that you can play where you just do like mini golf with like, you know, in the room. We've done that one. There's Demio, which is like a tabletop board game that you can play where the board is virtual and you can do it over a real table and it does like, you know, mixed reality. Now that you have 2 headsets, like, dude, doing a VR night in date is so sick. It's like,
Is it?
yeah, dude, it's because you can get like the full experience of like, let's go do this thing, but not leave the house and not spend money. It's super cool. So, yeah, we'll have to talk about that. But yeah, like I'm excited for you so much because the MetaQuest 3 ecosystem is hella good. There's tons of good games to play on it. And yeah, unfortunately, playing Asgard's Wrath 1 will be difficult for you because you'll have to connect it to a PC and play wired. And I went out of my way to do that because I really wanted to play the first Asgard's Wrath, and I'm glad I did. But you can start just in Asgard's Wrath 2 and just go straight to it. You're not missing a ton, but that game is really good, the first one.
That's what our good friend Desante just said in the chat. If you have a good PC, play Asgard's Wrath 1. It's better than 2, but you have to stream it from your PC.
Not better than 2. Crazy thing to say, but it is a really good game. I think both of them. I think the highest rated VR game I believe is Half-Life Alyx, which I think you can also play on your MetaQuest if you connect it to a PC. That one you have to play wired, but I definitely recommend it. And then I think after that, the 2 highest rated VR games are Asgard's Wrath 1 and Asgard's Wrath 2, with 2 being the higher of the 2. And also Asgard's Wrath 2 being my only 10 out of 10 review on IGN. Interesting. So it's a really good game, dude.
I will note, like, as somebody who'd never touched VR, the MetaQuest 3S, absolutely incredible tech. Like, I didn't feel like I was playing a gimped version. It reminded me of the Series S because like I'm still playing all the games. I know that it's the visuals are a little bit downgraded from the 3 and the memory's a little smaller. So like it feels to me like the S and X comparisons of Xbox, and I'm curious if that's an actual thing because had I not known there was a better one out there, I would feel like I had the cream of the crop, right? Like this 3S is incredible technology.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so I really like the fact that if anybody gets it, it's at $300. You don't need to link to a computer. It comes with Arkham Shadow and MetaQuest Plus for months. It is a wonderful entry point, I think. I was just fortunate, and I'm fortunate for my wife to have been so kind. Not been so kind, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's a birthday.
Yeah,
you know?
of course.
That's what I mean. So I it wasn't my gaming budget is what I'm trying to say. Like my gaming budget's very tight right now because of podcast fees. This is a big deal for me. And so I'm just really excited. Now, I want to encourage anybody, if you're tempted in VR, know that the 3S was to me a wonderful entry. And if I wasn't getting a 3, I would still be very happy.
And a 3S is like $200 or $300?
300.
It's 300, but it comes with several months of MetaQuest Plus, which includes Asgard's Wrath 2 and several games. It's like 30 plus games, and Arkham Shadow comes with the unit. And like that's such a value, I think.
That's awesome. Yeah, and by the way, I did look up Dan's review went live this week. Travis, he did give it an 8.
Yeah, so I could see an 8 for sure. It's definitely so. Camouflage is a really talented VR studio that Meta picked up because they keep doing that. They did the same thing with the Asgard's Wrath developer. They're kind of at like the early Netflix era. Meta is where they're just like acquiring all these good studios and their content is great. But yeah, I definitely could see that for sure.
That's cool.
And I actually haven't played the MetaQuest 3S. I think it's a new headset, right? That came out.
Yeah, it came out 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Yeah. So I have 2 3s, so I probably don't have a good reason to get one, but it'll be interesting for you to play with your 3 when it gets in and then kind of see what you were missing.
Yeah, do a comparison for sure.
I think I'm going to do a video for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's just been such a wonderful experience. So
yeah. Cool.
It's going to be cool.
That's awesome
for you, dude.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's always cool when you kind of like you can game every day or be in this community, but then experience something completely new. You know what I mean? Like a new avenue opens to you. It's very cool. Yeah. So love it.
Yeah.
In other review news, and to get into the Halloween theme here, because we got a few horror things to talk about. Luke, you did a review of a little game I'm excited about that honestly I think is going under the radar a little bit, maybe, unless it's more of like a niche thing for horror nutcases like myself here. Nut bags, excuse me, to quote Hogue. Retro Realms Halloween and Evil Dead collection, which is a 2 games that are both 2D platformer games, but based in the Evil Dead and Halloween universe with Michael Myers and Ash. So you did a little review of this. You want to talk a little bit about it?
Absolutely. So I really was excited. This was anticipated for me because, like you, Ains, I really enjoy spooky season. And I started early this year, and that's what I'm going to do from here on out. I started in September in the spooky world. And this was on my radar because I genuinely enjoy the Halloween franchise, the good ones, the bad ones. I just love the character of Michael Myers as a horror figure. Enjoy him in Dead by Daylight. It's been fun. So to see this Retro Realms project that they're making, it's the Retro Realms arcade is just an arcade simulation where you can download it for free, and then there are arcade cabinets within it. And the 2 that they are launching this arcade with are Ash versus Evil Dead, based on the Star show, but with plenty of homages to the original movies, and Halloween. And so what they are essentially is all these cabinets so far, these 2 cabinets, are 16-bit inspired platforming games. So there is an dark Overlord character in their universe, where it goes and pulls these killers and these characters into their worlds and forces them to travel through to do its bidding and whatnot. Very, very Dead by Daylight, for anyone that is aware. It's very much like the Entity. So I say that because I started off on this one, and graphically, it's just such a pleasure to see these characters shown in these ways, to play as Michael Myers. And if you have the add-on Laurie Strode, going through Haddonfield, going through the sanitarium, and then eventually going into the Dark Realm. In whatever cabinets you have, the characters can swap. So you can take Ash through the Halloween cabinets games. You can take Michael Myers through Ash versus Evil Dead's stuff. There is a tremendous amount of detail in these worlds. There's a tremendous amount of background animation going on, which is almost like its own story if you pay attention to it. So you'll see things happening from the movies, from the shows. You'll have little bits and Easter eggs. Such a joy. And there's a really cool mechanic where you can alternate worlds between the standard world that you're in and the nightmare version of that. And you do that to traverse puzzles, to get collectibles, to upgrade your gear. Each character has upgrade abilities. I'm happy to answer questions on it. I will say I felt like some of the stuff was too hard. Cheap deaths. Some of the platforming was a little bit odd.
Now I'm even more excited.
When I say too hard, like cheap, not difficult. Cheap.
Okay.
And so when you do go through it, let me know, because in the comment section of my review, which I was very pleased people checked out, which really meant a lot. Some people were like, yo, this game is too hard. There was also a debate on whether or not it was worth the price, because each cabinet in the Retro Realms arcade is $25. So it's $25 to play through the Halloween campaign, $25 to play through the Ash versus Evil Dead campaign. If you get the link, I see you, Rick Davis. If you get the link, the linked version, like the collection, then you get some extra characters like Kelly Maxwell from Ash vs. Evil Dead show, which is a blast. It's a great show. I really have learned to love it. And so that there are perks to it. And to Rick's admittedly tongue-in-cheek comment about skill issue, there are times where absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. There were other times where absolutely not. This is a cheap, poorly designed traversal area where you have to go and get the optional upgrades in order to progress this portion, to get this thing. And
I will be the judge of this, sir. I will.
Please do. Please do, because I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that as well, saying like, no, I did feel like this was cheap, even though I am not the most talented at it. Like, I will freely admit, not the best at it, but I was frustrated and angry as opposed to, I can do better. There's a big difference in those two things.
Sure.
I really do hope you guys check it out.
Well,
admittedly, it's expensive.
Yeah, so I have the I saw this announced a couple months ago, right, in one of our press email things. And I saw that they had a collector's edition. So you know me, of course, they have like the Michael Myers kind of doll and everything that comes with it. I was like, I'm in, sold. So I have that coming. It got delayed for some reason, so I think it's coming next week. So yeah, I'll talk about this soon. All jokes aside, I'll see what I think of it in terms of difficulty and content and stuff. But I mean, I love 2D platformers, especially difficult ones. So we'll see if it's got some of that or not.
You will be well treated. You'll be well treated. Yeah. Like the fun part to me is like you get the collectibles, and then you get an extra currency outside of the cabinet where you go into the arcade, and the arcade has a museum dedicated to Halloween. So you get to see Michael Myers' suit and the knife, and then you can go into the Ash vs. Evil Dead, and you can see the Oldsmobile, which I can't. The Dart. No, that's not right. But you can see like little homages to it, which is fun. And like the Ash vs. Evil Dead campaign, it's tongue-in-cheek funny. And the Halloween one is ominous and dark. And it's cool to see these characters in these positions. Like one of the best parts about Dead by Daylight is that you're the killer sometimes, and you get to have that power fantasy. Well, as Michael Myers going through Haddonfield slaughtering these people, you have that same power fantasy. You're not avoiding him. So it's fun. It's cool.
Cool. Very cool. I like it. So on the horror theme then, I started playing Silent Hill 2 this week. I was a little delayed because I got the import from the UK, which took a while to get here. So the fun thing about this one for me is I'm having my wife play it, who we both love horror, but she doesn't really game. And so we're getting into it. We're a couple hours in now. It's been cool, kind of jarring my memory. I have not played Silent Hill 2 since the original Xbox. So you're talking 20 plus years. So pretty well done so far. Liking it so far. It's definitely starting to ramp up in the creepiness. I can't wait to get more into it. So I'm super excited to play more of that. Did either of you play Silent Hill 2?
No, not yet.
No, it's on my backlog.
Backlog.
Okay.
It looks fantastic, but with it being on PlayStation and having so much else on the Xbox plate, plus now my VR adventures, it's just gonna get So.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so I can't wait to get more into it. I think finding time to sit down with her and play it, takes a little longer, of course, especially considering she doesn't really play games. So watching someone play a game who doesn't normally play games is always funny. She's like walking to every wall. She's trying to open every door to like the background buildings. I'm like, those doors don't open. Like so it's been quite funny kind of going through that. But yeah, it's a good time. Also, we had the Lake House release this week for Alan Wake 2, the second expansion for Alan Wake 2, the final expansion, I believe I'm saying. Yes. We talked a little bit about it last week, and we got some nice comments about Hogue ranting about Control, who people did not appreciate that. But he did.
What was his take on Control, if you don't mind me asking?
Don't ask. He does not like Control. He loves Remedy, does not like Control.
This man is insane. I don't understand his bad Star Wars takes. He has bad takes. Like his pirate game preference is ridiculous. Like, what are we doing?
Out again? Was it Pedro Pascal that he came out again?
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, what? He's like, I'm not a fan of Pedro Pascal. I was like, what the?
One of the good guys in Hollywood. The like 6 people that are good in Hollywood.
Yeah. He's got the most wild opinions, bro.
It's like someone being like Keanu Reeves. Yeah, I hate that guy. It's
like, what are you doing? Why, Ains? What are we doing? Why are we doing it?
Why are you asking me?
I have a theory that Hogue exists just to make me appear likable. That's his entire mission.
Fair enough.
But anyway, I did ping him this morning to get his thoughts because he was really looking forward to this. He was very, very high on it. So he said he would probably give it upwards of a 9, I believe. And he said, there's a new enemy type and the same quality of storytelling that fans of Alan Wake 2 have come to expect. Survival horror scares with biting commentary on what it means and creating art. Yes, please. So he really, really enjoyed it despite the Control tie-in. And it seems to be a pretty common theme from what I've seen of the reviews. It's very highly regarded. Rather short from what I understand. So some people said it's basically just 2 to 4 hours, depending on how fast or slow you play. I believe someone said they beat it in 90 minutes, which maybe they ran through it. I don't know. but sounds like it's quite good. So if you like Alan Wake 2, you're probably already checking this out, but it sounds like it's a good experience. So good on Remedy. And always love to see what Remedy's doing next. Obviously, we talked about FBC Firebreak as part of the Xbox Partner Show last week. But yeah, sounds like it's good. I haven't touched it. I'm behind on Alan Wake 2, admittedly, but I'm excited to hear that Hogue really liked it. So it's good.
I adore Alan Wake as a franchise and Control. I like seeing Alan Wake show up in Fortnite and Dead by Daylight. Which oddly enough feels like it belongs there. Like because you're trying to bring light to the area. But I loved Alan Wake 2, and I was planning to play. That was what I was gonna do, Ains, until you messaged me. Like this was my
this morning.
Time. Yeah. So I'm so excited for this one, and I love hearing that it's 2 to 4 hours. To me, that is a great for that type of experience, because Alan Wake 2 can weigh on you, right? Like that game with its psychological approach can weigh on you. And I like the idea of a consumable one afternoon approach to a horror element in Alan Wake 2. So I'm excited for that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's also nice that now both expansions are out, so I can play both of them back to back, because I didn't play the first one either. So
that's like arcadey run and gun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
I've heard it seems to be that this I think this is more highly regarded than Night Springs, but you can double check me on that. So
Night Springs was meant to like go shoot stuff, and it was worth it. Like it's worth it. It's a good time because it's good mechanics there. But I'm excited to see like now the more survival part. We'll see. So
cool, very cool.
Show Night Springs very famously has lots of shooting in it. It's a really violent war show.
So I played quite a bit more of Metaphor this week. I kind of joke that single player games, especially with a release like Black Ops, multiplayer, I'm always playing multiplayer. We talk about that ad nauseum, but I did sit down quite a few times and play Metaphor to try to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of that game. And I'm getting there. I'm right about 20 hours now. So I'm kind of over that initial prologue hump of JRPG, right? And exposition. So I'm really liking it. I've seen so many people on my timeline and so many friends who I trust their opinions say this is one of their favorite RPG experiences in a long time. Some people calling it one of the greats in the JRPG genre all time. So I really want to keep playing it. I like the characters. I like a lot of we've talked about the artistic direction, kind of everything about the design is really cool. I was talking to you a little bit about this, Travis. One of the struggles I really have with JRPGs in general, which is I'm also getting with Metaphor, is sometimes feeling how little I'm actually playing it. Like the play portion of playing this game sometimes is very minimal. I had an instance where I loaded it up. I had like 45 minutes, to play for a little bit earlier this week. And I got to a cutscene. Cutscene was like 10 minutes long. I fought one battle, which was a very straightforward battle as part of the cutscene. And then there was another nearly 15 to 20 minutes, right? I think I told you it was like half an hour between saves. And I think I played for like 90 seconds. And other than that, it's just all reading because it's not fully voiced either, right? It's almost like commentary voice, that thing where they make comments while you're reading the subtitles or reading the dialogue. So that's okay. And I know some people really, really love that. They love the storytelling aspect of it. I think it's just a me thing, but it's like the play portion of the game is so narrow. And even when like I have to figure out and run around town and it's like, do I want to spend my daytime doing this to improve one of my stats? You know what I mean? Just like the Persona series, pretty much. It's still rather basic. The only time I really feel like I'm playing is in the dungeons. And even then you're just kind of running battle to battle, right? Picking up your core items till you make it to the end and fight the boss, right? So I don't know. I think it's a me problem. I know a lot of JRPGs are like this with a lot of exposition and kind of just, same storytelling, over dramatizing certain aspects of the story and characters and things. And it's just, that does weigh on me a little bit. It's hurting my enjoyment of the game a little bit. But again, I think it's just me.
Yeah, I don't think it's just you. I mean, I love JRPGs, but I still at times just shake my head at like the JRPG-ness of it. And I think some JRPG fans are like, "Oh, well, that's just part of the genre," without addressing the fact of whether or not that is good or bad, right? Like, okay, it's part
Yeah,
of the genre, but is it
that
a good
hand
thing to
waving
be
I
in the
don't
genre?
like. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, that's just
it
accepted.
really bothers me. Like one that
Yeah.
a lot of like Persona 5, like you have to save at like static save points, right? And I'm like, okay, but that's a bad mechanic, and we have the technology to not do that anymore. And they're like, well, it's part of JRPG, and I'm like,
No,
you know,
I'm saying
please,
it's
no,
a jank. It's
please,
very
stop.
lame.
Yeah, so I think JRPGs have some of that. The overwriting is, I will die on the hill of I hate it and please stop doing it. But even, I think Hogue has even said on this show like, oh, it's just you take it with the genre, and I'm like, yeah, we don't have to. They don't have
Yeah,
to.
we don't have to. Like, they
We
can
don't have to.
improve.
They don't have to repeat every single plot point 12 times like I'm the guy from Memento. You know what I mean? And I think there's an opportunity to do that. But I will say, I've watched D play through 50 hours of this game. She's way ahead of me. And she's quite enjoying it, but she also has, some of the same qualms that you or I might, Ains, of like,
Okay.
it does have a lot of combat, but the combat all happens like really like concentrated. So you'll do like 5 hours straight of combat and then like 3 hours of not that. And
Exactly.
so I feel like
Yeah.
the spacing is a little funny for her, because sometimes she'll be like, oh my God, I'm so sick of combat. And then by the time she's done with the non-combat section, she's like, oh my God, please get to the combat. And it's just very funny to see how quickly it shifts. I do think the pacing of combat versus not is a little catawampus. But yeah, it's good. It's a good game.
Catawampus.
Didn't anticipate hearing that phrase today.
No.
You gotta
Yeah,
you gotta use a variety of words, friends.
I think I think you're right. I do, and we've talked about that with Souls-likes. We've talked about it with shooters. The kind of hand waving, like we just accept that this is a bad mechanic or bad design issue as part of this type of game, and I don't think we should do that. To your point,
people do it with every genre.
They do, and I'm probably guilty of it as well. I recognize, but you
do it with Souls-likes.
I find it infuriating the amount of hand waving I get when I talk about Elden Ring's onboarding, right? Like, it's a bad onboarding thing, and it should be more welcoming to
Shut up,
players.
Luke. Who invited you?
Yep. See, in order to expand, so many people would enjoy Elden Ring that are maybe not, because that first little bit, people will be like, well, it's got a tutorial dungeon. Yeah, you can walk right by it and don't know. Like, it's got a whole area. Yeah, but you can completely miss it. Like, I do think onboarding in Souls-likes or games that are meant to be hard, I do think the hand waving when it comes to it's Bethesda. No. Like, hold it accountable. It should be better. That is
Elden Ring is perfect.
Elden Ring's perfect. I love that game, but no. And so I would hope
the story is perfect. The story is told perfectly in that game.
No, in fact, all jokes aside, not to interrupt you, Luke, I'm sorry, but I watched another series of guys that are doing Elden Ring, and I learned stuff about the core characters in Elden Ring this week that I didn't know. So, yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
But just the bigger point that hand waving is a detriment to gaming. And yes. I don't appreciate it. I don't think it's a good thing to include games that I love. Halo, Arkham, Gears. Like, I do not enjoy the hand waving. Oh, that's just this. No, not acceptable. Hold them accountable. Do so respectively, but like, hold them accountable. It's not acceptable.
I'm so glad to hear you guys say this, because I often get labeled as a negative person because I always have feedback for games, even if I love them. And
a contrarian.
People really don't like that. People like, if they think a game is a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, and you have like more than one thing to say about it that's negative, they will pile on you, dude, and say, oh, you're just one of those guys, you're trying to make everything negative, not let people have fun, all this stuff. And it's like, guys, I'm on your team, I play all these games, but come on, we can all be friends here and also have some nice critiques together.
Well, wait till we get the Black Ops 6. I have quite a few.
I despise the contrarian attitude that some people take in order to create content. You're mad to be mad, not helpful, not interesting. I do not enjoy that. Like, you're doing that for effect and reaction. but critique that's logical and thoughtful is my preferred content. But it does not get clicks, views, and whatnot. So if someone's job is YouTube or they're aiming for more engagement, then it doesn't behoove them to be logical and thoughtful.
You say it doesn't get clicks, but that is basically IGN's entire like premise as a brand is like
what, contrarian?
kind of boring, but like logical and not like explosive or hyperbolic.
No, I think Luke means IGN's a whole different ball of wax.
I don't
means
if
you're a small creator, you get more attention.
YouTube, sure.
Yes.
I'm just saying you have to stand out on YouTube, but I do think it's worth noting that like the biggest brands that are the most successful are directed at people who don't want that BS. You know what I mean? So I think that's worth like shouting out that there's a market for it.
Yeah, I think IGN's a unique beast given that you have the incredible talents of people like Rebecca Valentine operating there.
She's a G unit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
now a resident of Kansas City.
Oh, yes, we stole her.
She moved out there. Yeah,
love.
I saw her wearing a KC shirt in her post the other day. I was like, hell yeah.
But her family's from there, so you kind of just got her back. Really, you stole Imran from me.
I mean, we're doing it. Sorry, Luke.
He's upset, by the way. He misses the city.
Just the idea that, like, next to that incredible journalistic integrity, you also have stuff where it matters to create content in order to survive, to keep people employed. And there are choices made by the parent company that are not always preferred. And so it's a unique conundrum of the beast of IGN is trying to have its cake and eat it too. And sometimes very successfully, sometimes very much missing. But all of it, all the outrage, all the enjoyment, any other element supports the overall idea that like it's getting engagement. People are talking about it. And so I find that interesting to watch as an outsider.
Yeah. And I think we're kind of a little off topic now, but I think you're saying kind of similar. I think you and I, Luke, because we've talked about this a ton, right? But one of the things Travis talks about when people say, you get those crazy people who are like, oh, the mainstream gaming media is broken. We need more YouTubers and creators. And Travis kind of points back of like, no, like there's no journalistic standard there.
Correct.
You know what I mean? It's just yelling into the ether. So, having that balance is very much needed.
I think I'm okay with there being more YouTubers, for the record. I think it's when people...
I'm not.
We're
done.
Yeah.
No more.
It's not that people say more YouTubers. They say we need less of regular media. That's the part where I'm like,
no,
really?
There's not enough.
That's
there's
like
not enough.
Rebecca Valentine's or Steven Sotillo's to take. Yeah, it's a very.
You need more journalists. Absolutely.
Yes.
Probably
it's like saying we need fewer local newspapers. I'm like, why would you have that opinion? I'm so confused.
Right. I'm firmly in the camp that we need more real journalists in our space in order to keep the industry accountable.
Big time.
The problem is, much like newspapers and whatnot, funding that is very difficult. Very difficult. And many have to go independent. I'm thinking of Totillo in this moment.
Like Totillo, yeah. Who I'm going to mention later, actually, because I was on his site, his blog this morning.
It's wonderful. His Substack, I strongly recommend all of you. I don't even think I'm his favorite person sometimes, but I love his.
Remember we saw him in the elevator in LA?
Yeah, he was like, "Hey," I was like,
he was like, "Hey guys,
buddy, you were on my show like a week ago." But we need more of that to combat the groupthink mentality that tends to happen. And to go back to Travis's original point of, he's so glad we say this to avoid the hand waving and being contrarian. We need journalists in our space that are not necessarily interested in whether or not PlayStation or Xbox is successful. They don't care about what the numbers of PlayStation are versus Xbox. They care what the numbers are for reporting and information. What's going on at the studios, what's going on in the medium. And I appreciate every single one of the people in our space that do that, because they give a rational mind to look to. So I hope that comes through the way I intend it to.
Yeah, you hate them all. I know. I get it.
Xbox number one.
That's all I heard.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. Gentle Stone, by the way, he says Nintendo gets all the hand waving away or criticism. Not here, they don't, my friend. I am very critical of Nintendo. But yeah, I think getting back to what we said about JRPGs and the hand waving, I think one of the other mechanics, not to stay on this too long, but one of the other mechanics that has just not evolved in a lot of JRPGs, and this drove me crazy about Dragon Quest. It's 11. It's the latest one, 11, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I played for quite a while. Is like it still has that really old linear design of like you go fight some battles, you go to a new town, you buy your new sword, your new armor, then you go fight some battles, you go to a new town, then you buy your new sword and you buy your new armor, and it's just the same thing through the whole game. And it's just like there's no creativity and kind of like your loadout or thought process that goes into kind of customizing. It's just this flat kind of upgrade all the way through the game, and it just, I don't know, it just feels outdated to me. It feels like they could do such a better system. I mean, we see it in so many other areas of RPGs. It's like, why can't you take at least some of these aspects? Because if you mix like Metaphor's art direction and some of the narrative, maybe not as much, but some of the narrative and some of the characters and all those things it does really well, but give you a little more complexity, a little more freedom. I don't know. Some people may say you take away from the core experience, maybe, but to me, it could just be such a better experience.
Here's a criticism I have of Metaphor as somebody who has played a little bit of it and watched 50 hours of it out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah.
Can we get the budget maybe to make more than 2 songs in these JRPGs? That would be sick. Can we please have more than 1 combat song? If I have to hear that guy go one more time,
every combat,
I'm gonna lose my freaking mind. Same with Persona, dude. The one pop song they have for all the combat encounters makes me want to die. Please, just 2 more songs. Like, I'll take it. Rotate between them. Like, please, I'm begging you.
I'm even gonna go and criticize From right now, because that's one of the complaints I had with Sekiro. Is anytime an enemy sees you in that game, it's the same song. Yeah, exactly. Ooh, so you get that whatever instrument that is, and like after like 30, because I reviewed that game, so after like 30-40 hours, hearing that like 1,000 times, I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Rick Davis saying, "Oh god, you guys are nuts. The combat music is amazing and never gets old." Really? Never gets old. How many hours?
Well, read the rest of his comment though.
That's some hand waving. No,
I haven't heard it in hours at this point. Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Of course, that's what we're talking about.
But then you're gonna have to listen to it for 10 hours in a row after not hearing it for
correct.
Hours. Yeah, that's my problem, man. I just please, just like 1 or 2 more songs. I'm not asking for a lot. I just don't want to hear the part where the guy goes just so many times, dude. It's killing me.
Oh my god, that's too funny. It's probably even worse if you're not actually playing too. You just keep hearing that like out of the corner of your ear over and over again.
She'll leave the game idle and like it'll just be playing that for a while, but also like it's the same. The sound design in these games is perplexing to me because they clearly know sound design. They always choose like, great music. Persona 5 has a great song in combat, but then it's the only song. You have to hear it so many times, and it makes me go insane. Talk about cattywampus. She was standing. She left the game idle near like a character out in the town, and I heard this guy go,
"Oh, the NPCs repeat their stuff constantly."
Oh my god, no. I can't remember what he was saying. He was saying like very nice or whatever. You just said it like a million times. And when she came back, I was like, "Can you please move your character? I'm gonna lose my freaking mind. Please move it right now." And she's like, "Oh no, sorry."
So the early part of the game, you're at the inn, like in that first city, right? That's where you keep meeting up. And every time you save and it loads you outside of the inn for that first like several hours, there's an NPC, and the first thing they would say is, "What happened?" And it's just like, but every time I heard what happened like 100 sometimes, and I'm just like,
You ever get to that level where it no longer annoys you and you just say it like as they say it? Sometimes I'll do that just to like convince myself I'm not annoyed by it. I'll just start at the end of battle, I'll be like, "What happened?" Like right as they say it, because I know it's coming and they know it's coming, and we're just sort of like, all right, we're now. Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. If you are not irritated by the sounds, the repetitive sound design of video games, I don't know, man. You might have a strange brain chemistry. You might have, you might be a little neurodivergent. That's all.
Hey,
I gotta
leave my
say.
people alone, Travis.
Just saying.
All right, so we'll move on for that. But to be clear, I am enjoying the game. It's just I think we need to be honest about some of the shortcomings of these types of things for sure.
Yeah, it is very cool. Watching Deep play through it, I've been like, man, I really want to dive further in that game, play it. I've just been busy crossing off all the other games on my to-do list before I get too far into it, because I know that game is going to take me 100 hours.
I'm 20 hours in, and apparently I'm like nowhere yet. You know what I mean? Like, so before we move on to our bigger conversation around Black Ops 6 and Xbox, I did want to let you, Travis, because you finished Star Wars Outlaws this week.
I did. Yeah, man. Cool game. Yeah, I think the people who said like the back half gets like a million times better or whatever, I kind of disagree. I think eventually it becomes a competent, good game. But if I were reviewing the game, I probably would give it like a 7. I think the bright spots are being in the Star Wars universe and going like open world is awesome. And the story ends up being really good. And I love the robot character. You spend a lot of time with ND5 and their focus on your relationship with a defunct commando battle droid, which is kind of a hilarious just premise. But yeah, I think its main faults are in the gameplay department. I don't think the stealth really gets any more complicated or even difficult. The combat is pretty much just point and shoot, kind of a shooting gallery combat. And yeah, I definitely had a good time. I'm gonna play the DLC. It's got 2 season pass expansions coming out that I'm gonna play. But yeah, I'm really glad I beat it, just because there was some lore I hadn't seen, and I get really anxious anytime I'm not fully caught up on Star Wars canon. And so it's nice to know what happens in that game and know the big plot points. And I'll probably spend a little bit more time with it. But yeah, probably 7 out of 10 for me if I'm just being honest about where it sits in terms of gameplay.
Okay,
it's good.
Obviously, being a big Star Wars guy yourself, Luke, did you finish Outlaws?
I haven't even started it.
Never mind.
The funny part is it's sitting there. They sent me the review code on launch day next to a bunch of other stuff happening. It was like, y'all missed the window. Like, I don't have the time now, bandwidth time, because of other content that was going on. And as I've told you guys privately, like October is my busy month. Like there's just, I'm just swamped. So like I'm excited to play it, because for all the kerfuffles around this game, its performance, Ubisoft, things that are good, things that are bad, they have been dropping hot fixes. And when I will have time, which is mid-November, provided I don't dive too far into VR, which I probably will, they've got a big old update coming out with some content.
Yes.
And so I had the choice to start it maybe 2 weeks ago. And I was like, no, I would rather play X and Y and wait for this new content, because I am, like Travis, diehard Star Wars fan, love it. And knowing that they're coming in with some fixes to the stealth, some fixes to the mechanics, and more stuff, it's like, I'm going to wait. And how many times as gamers would we enjoy something more if we just waited? Yeah,
I will say I didn't really have any technical issues. That part of it,
I
think maybe I fell through the map once and maybe had one crash or whatever, but like maybe it's because I waited as well, but I didn't really have any tech issues. For me, it was mostly just like, okay, the gameplay's all right, and then you get through that. But the story, characters, and especially just the world, being able to travel freely through the Star Wars galaxy is really cool. So.
I am one of the people that pushes back when people are like, oh, I want new characters. No, I'd much rather have a Luke Skywalker game. I'd really like to just play as Luke.
I'm on the other side. I want new characters. Yeah,
I get it.
I think those characters are cool, and I'm glad they exist, and they can make stuff there too. But I think the thing that excites me about Star Wars is the infinite potential and possibility of that galaxy. And I think you get away from potential and possibility when you're still hanging out with the same guys 40 years later. So
I would like to see both happen, like anybody, right? Like any Star Wars fan. But I have some of my best memories during COVID were my friends and I exploring Battlefront 2, because it got fixed and it was just this wonderful Star Wars.
Battlefront 2 is fun.
It was such a good time. And so I would love to see a Battlefront 3 where we kind of get the best of both. You get a nice campaign with new characters, but then you can go into the multiplayer and enjoy playing as Luke or Rey or Kylo. And the Star Wars universe, to your point, Travis, is just so ripe with incredible approaches, but we've seen it done right, seen it done wrong. And I like in the gaming space that this game exists. I also appreciate that it is a 7. And as someone who enjoys, I swim in 7s, right? Like I enjoy that. I think it would be very cool to have both. Like, where is the Han Solo game? Or Dash Rendar would probably be a great example. Like, let's get a Shadows of the Empire-esque experience. Let me go in the Outrider. And so, I think Outlaws
it deserves a sequel. Outlaws needs a sequel because
does it?
Yeah, I think they set up a good opportunity for them to make like a 9 or a 10 game. So this strikes me as like the classic like first attempt where you're like, all right, I see the potential. Like now make a better version of it.
Now make Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah, exactly. It needs the Assassin's Creed 2 game. I don't know if Ubisoft is the company to do it, or if they have an interest in it or whatever. But yeah, I think it's really solid. And as a Star Wars fan, I'm happy that we're getting solid Star Wars games. That's cool.
I'm with you, Luke. I waiting to play it too, and I think with the games in November, the stuff I'm playing now, and then Indie coming the first week of December, this may end up being like my Christmas time game. Finally revisiting Outlaws, so we'll see.
Do you anticipate Indie taking a long time? Something about that game says 8 hours to me.
Yeah, I'm thinking 10 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think anyone expecting like a 30-hour experience is going to be sorely disappointed.
I'm not upset.
Indiana Jones.
I'm not upset by an 8-hour experience, but like I remember all the discussion around Hellblade was like, oh, it's not long. It's like it didn't need to be, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Shadow.
I mean, Wolfenstein 2 was
New Colossus is like maybe 10 hours.
Yeah. That's what I expect for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm glad we're in the same area there because I have no problem with games that are that length.
I think some games get smacked around for not being long if like they're the type of game or format where it would behoove you to be long. Like I don't think Metaphor is ever going to get knocked for being too long because it's an RPG and people are like in for the ride. But sometimes you play a game and it feels like it should be a 30-hour game and then you only get 10 and it feels disappointing. But I don't know. I wish more games were short. That's the thing that excites me most about the Alan Wake DLC. Is that it's short. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. I'm
I think about like Hellblade was short, but it was the console. It was the Xbox exclusive AAA, and then people were like, "Oh, it's not long enough." But I agree with Travis. Yes, the length of Alan Wake is appealing to me. I liked that Hellblade was this confined, fun experience. And
Hellblade also would have gotten super boring if it were any longer. I think it was like long enough.
It's too intense to be like a 20-hour game. Yeah, like that's not what it's supposed to be.
And also sometimes you can see how long a mechanic is going to be entertaining for. Right. And I hate when games pass that point and just keep making you play. And I'm like, bro, either introduce some new mechanics or end the game. Like there's no reason for it to be this long. And so RPGs get fun because you're constantly building your character and the fun is in kind of like how deep you can go. But if the combat is really simple, your game should not be 30 hours. I'm just going to hate it by the end, no matter how good the story is.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, well, you didn't have to talk about JRPGs like that, but I get it. Let's let's catch up on our super chats and some comments here before we get onto our Black Ops 6 conversation.
Blops.
You are on Blops. Debbie
Dubs. What's up, Dubs? She offers $10 and writes, the best Sandal moment is when you find him in the deep road surrounded by a lot of dead darkspawn. When you ask him what happened, all he says is enchantment. 10 out of 10. That is true. And that moment lives rent-free in my head as a horrifying achievement in Dragon Age.
I wish I remembered this. I don't remember this.
Wow. I can't believe you don't remember Dragon Age.
Is it Dragon Age 2?
Origins.
Oh, so yeah, I've beat Origins. I beat Inquisition. 2 I don't think I ever beat.
He's one of the dwarves at the camp who his dad is there, and then they help you. They're like vendors that are at the camp, and then they have like small mini arcs in the story, including the one that she's referencing, where you find him, and he apparently is just a murdering psychopath. But
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Debbie, thank you. Sorry, that super chat's been sitting there for a while, so we were talking through the games. But Debbie's always a big supporter. Thank you very much, Debbie. Rick Davis with a member comment.
Rick Davis, morning guys. Big couple weeks for me. Still plugging away at Metaphor and
Silent Hill 2.
Silent Hill 2, Horizon Remastered, and Dragon Age Veilguard this week, and PS5 Pro next week. Hi, Luke.
Nice.
Yeah, PS5 Pro is less than 2 weeks away, right? Yeah, less than 2 weeks away. So it's right up on us. And then we'll obviously be talking about Dragon Age next week. So yeah, it's gonna be good. Speaking of Dragon Age, our resident Dragon Age fanatic is here.
Don Lionheart, $5 super chat. Less than 1 week until Dragon Age the Veilguard. Partying smile face. After so long, crying face. If you need a panelist guest who's played it next week, let me know. Ains winking smiley face. I must say, you using emojis before the punctuation is horrifying to me. I can't believe you said let me know, Ains, comma emoji period. That is some psychotic behavior, I must say. Using punctuation after an emoji is unhinged.
I will he'll take that feedback to heart. We will use that going
sure.
I'm sure he's going to adjust his behavior now after that.
Okay, but we all agree that the weirdest one is when he says the Veilguard exclamation point and then a parting smiley face and then a period, meaning the emoji is supposed to be, in all intents and purposes, a complete sentence in his mind. I just want to point that out. This is wild.
I am also upset by this thing that you're mad about.
Okay.
Your definition of wild needs a rethought as well, but we'll move on.
Sorry, guys.
Don, thank you. Don is, I've already mentioned Don is covering Dragon Age for us, and he's a Dragon Age literal fanatic. So, yeah, that should be a good time. Sid is back. Good to see you, Sid.
Siddharth Shishokar, 100 rupees to write. Challenging a genre convention can be really innovative. That's how Halo and Dark Souls came into existence. Very true.
Very true. Yeah. And Dark Souls. What was that thing? You know, there's all kinds of weird awards in gaming. I know Dark Souls won that crazy award out of the UK publication. It was like the greatest game of all time games or something like that was Dark Souls. But I think that one of the conversations I've had with people in this vein is that I think it's, you know, you can argue it, but I think Dark Souls, generally speaking, has influenced more games and the gaming industry in the past decade than any other game.
Yes.
I would say Last of Us, but yeah, Dark Souls.
You could probably argue that, but I'd probably still go Souls, but Last of Us is a good shout as well. Yeah. So,
and not necessarily
but,
good influence, but it's been.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's talk about Last of Us. I have thought
influence can be good and bad, that's for sure. But yeah, true. Absolutely true, Sid. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well.
It's a terrible influence on me.
I do my best, you know.
That's right.
When he thinks a period after an emoji is wild, you know, we got work to do. We got.
It is wild. I'm sorry. Who does that? That's serial killer behavior. All I'm saying is if I live near Don Lionheart, I'm checking the basement and the trunk. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, man. This was not a super chat, but I just want to call out Burf's comment, one of our regulars as well. Good to see Burf. Maybe the new Dragon Quest was made for people like me that just want a new game that plays like the old games I remember, but with better graphics. Sometimes I just want to trip down memory lane. Perfectly fair.
I agree. Yeah, I think that is a strategy. I think it is a strategy that doesn't particularly interest me, but yeah, sometimes people just want their comfort game. And those people are called Richard Hogue. If you want to offend Hogue, show him something new. And if you want to make him happy, show him something he's seen a million times before.
There you go. Debbie Dubs wanted to add an extra comment.
Deb Dubs for $2 writes Dragon Age Origins. It's a random encounter in the Deep Roads.
Deep Roads.
Yeah, I remember.
Maybe I missed it.
Yeah, I guess you can miss it. I definitely encountered it, and so did Dee when she played the game. So I guess it's probably one of those things that triggers.
I probably just don't remember. I'm old. Yeah. If there is a Western RPG that I would love to see remade, because we know we're getting a Witcher 1 remake, which Witcher 1. We'll see how. Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But I would love to see a modern Dragon Age Origins. I love that game. That is pure classic BioWare Western RPG. It would be awesome to get like a modern version of that, in my opinion. But
Be cool.
with the success of games like Baldur's Gate 3, I mean, come on. All right, Debbie Dubs, thank you very much. So before we move on to Black Ops 6, I just want to say remember to like if you're enjoying the chat. Remember to share this out, please, if you could. We would appreciate it. YouTube algorithm, as I have said, has been wonky, to say the least, lately. Yes, that too. So yeah, help us out. Like it on both sides of the house, please, and share it out. We would greatly appreciate it. So let's get into Black Ops 6. And it feels like I'm going to do most of the talking here, although I know you were talking with David Burdett, our good friend over at Gaming Trend. Luke, you said, was on XEP. So Black Ops 6 launches, typically the best-selling game of the year. Obviously, this year, launches into Game Pass for the first time, with Xbox being the now owner of the IP. So let's talk about the game itself, first of all. So if you're not familiar with Call of Duty's kind of cadence or their development, right? They have 3 core studios: Sledgehammer, Treyarch, and Infinity Ward. The traditional kind of method here was they would take 3 years each and build their games, and release one every 3 years. What's kind of happened over the past couple of years is they've had a shuffling of things. Some things didn't work out. Campaigns didn't come together. And so these studios have kind of been with support studios, of course, because there's several other studios that support Call of Duty. But things have kind of been all over the place. And so you kind of got a campaign or two that really was what you would call subpar. You got some releases that weren't what would traditionally be considered content complete in the Call of Duty world, which does what seems to be rare nowadays, which is you get a full campaign, you get a full PvE co-op experience in zombies, and you get a full multiplayer suite, which kind of was what the Halos used to do, the Gears used to do, and that's just not very common nowadays because the development need to do that is so vast in modern gaming. What we get with Black Ops 6, I'm happy to report, is the full development life cycle that is traditionally planned for Call of Duty from Treyarch. And so you're getting a complete package here with a fully featured campaign, fully featured zombies mode, and a fully featured multiplayer suite. So I am not a Call of Duty campaign guy, so I will just talk about the review.
Out.
I hear this is one of the better campaigns, unfortunately.
That's what I was just going to say, is I'm talking just purely on reviews in this segment for the campaign, but very highly regarded so far. Alex is doing the review for us. IGN gave it a 9, I know.
Nice.
And yeah. And everyone I've talked to who has played it has been very high on it. And so I think that this is great to see, right? It's great to see the return of the big Michael Bay blockbuster Call of Duty kind of campaign. And it feels like people are really, really enjoying this one this year, which is great. I love to see that.
Sweet. Hell yeah. Yeah, I think the series really needed it, and I think Xbox really needed it. So good for them.
It's a weird we'll kind of get to. Sorry, I feel like I got a sneeze coming.
That's nice. Bless you, buddy.
And again.
Yeah, he's just dying. That's not a sneeze.
Yeah, I am. This is my downward spiral. Funny enough, no joke, I was up late last night drinking, playing Call of Duty. So that's where I'm at.
You look like a man who was up late last night drinking, playing Call of Duty.
I usually do most days, even when I wasn't drinking and playing Call of Duty. So that's great. I think zombies, at least in the early conversations I've played one match of zombies, had a really, really good time with it. Plays really well. I like the setup of it. I need to play it more, so we'll talk more about that soon. But from a mechanic standpoint and just getting in there and playing, it's a lot of fun. So as I said, I don't think just with everything else this group has been playing, we don't have a lot of experience on Black Ops 6 Zombies to speak of this week, sadly. But more to come on that front.
I'll play the campaign before our next show, but yeah, I've been busy.
I think so I put some time into multiplayer, but not enough to truly comment.
Yeah, I'll talk a lot about multiplayer.
But I am curious to see the impact that this has on Game Pass, if any.
We're gonna get there.
And I'm sorry. Okay, Please.
Yeah, sorry. No. Yeah, we were gonna. I just want to talk about the modes, and then we're gonna talk about the Xbox portfolio kind of conversation. So let me touch on multiplayer then. So I'll preface this, of course, with, and we're going to get back to some of the hand waving. I'll preface this with I am not a huge Call of Duty guy. I've said that many times. I play it with friends. I play it, to do well, right? And I'll play a lot of it. In fact, I think I'm nearing level 35, 40 or so in this. So I've played several hours, if not maybe a dozen hours of multiplayer so far with friends. From everyone I speak to, they're really enjoying it. This is what they want out of Call of Duty multiplayer. It is simple to get in and out of matches. There have been that I've seen, no major server issues, match issues, no problems in any of that. Doing your loadouts, doing your perks, all of that is very straightforward, quick, easy, efficient, which people love. And the gunplay, which is traditionally pretty solid in Call of Duty, right? It has good gunplay. Is very good as well. So it's smooth to play, very fast paced. If you're not aware, they did lower the health back down from Modern Warfare 3. So instead of 150, you only have 100. So kill times TTK is very fast. Some people love that. Some people don't. But I think the majority of Call of Duty players like that. And so it is a very, very fast paced, run and gun Call of Duty, which is, I think, the majority of the Call of Duty community likes that. For me, I'm enjoying it. It is addicting to play, as Call of Duty typically is, because it's so easy to just pick up, get into a match and run around and shoot things, which I think is what Call of Duty does extremely well. I think my ongoing issues with Call of Duty personally are what annoy me about this game. TTK is so fast. And when you get small things like desync, right, which happens in all multiplayer shooters, but killed around corners type things, insta kills where it feels like you shot the person, but you insta died type thing, that happens here and there. That's typical Call of Duty. But I think the one thing that really annoys me with this game is just to the hand waving aspect of spawn points. In this game, you will get spawn killed all the time, literally all the time. And I think that is, exacerbated by the fact that modern Call of Duties over the years have gotten faster. They've become more run and gun than they were, a long time ago. And so you've got two teams that are just running all over the map, right? And so spawn points are just problematic. There's no safe spawn. So yesterday, I spawn, I got killed. I spawn again, enemy behind me shoots me, get killed. I maybe took 2 steps. Spawn again, grenade at my foot, get killed. I'm like, that's 3 deaths in 5 seconds.
Okay, Ains,
you know what I mean? Because
it's realistic. All right, war is hell, and sometimes you get killed at spawn. All right, it's just how it works. You ever see Americans?
You get killed at spawn as a baby. You just spawn.
You ever see America storm the beaches of Normandy? So many of those guys got spawn killed. They didn't even get out of the boat, dude. That's some spawn.
You went dark real fast there. Luke, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Can we get Travis a hug? So we have one of those. Super chat level for that. Is there an extra life tier? Maybe get him a
super
hug?
Chat to give Travis a hug. It's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Yeah,
let's take some doing.
But yeah, I think it's those types of things, because you're playing TDM, you're playing Kill Confirm, whatever you're playing. But it's just when I talk to my friends who really like Call of Duty, I get the same thing, but the response is, that's just Call of Duty. And it's just but does it have to be?
It does not.
We shouldn't accept that a team deathmatch shooter where you're playing as a team and the goal is to win 100 to less than 100, that 3 deaths in 5 seconds is just Call of Duty. You just accept that that's a normality. And it's no, that's bad design. I don't care what anyone says. It's bad game design. That should not just be accepted.
You can accept that on shipment, but
that's a whole other topic.
That's what it's for.
I will say you can feel that it is bad design. Obviously, these are all opinions, but I will say it is very much intentional by the studio. They
100%.
Their entire design philosophy is get the player back into the battle and get their brain, getting those endorphins as quickly as possible. And so they create like these hot zones where like it's impossible to avoid battle and you just get like thrown in there really quickly, and that does result in spawn killing. But their fans like it and they've done it on purpose. So I agree with you though. This has been a complaint of mine for Call of Duty forever, and I think fans do kind of hand wave it and just go, oh yeah, you're gonna die sometimes. If you want combat to be that quick, you get into action that fast, then yeah, sometimes you're gonna get killed.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, because it's respawning's instant, right? You die, you press X, you respawn instantly, and you deal with that as is. And some of the maps, map design is always an argumentative opinion, right? Some people love the map, some people hate them, some people are in between. There's definitely a big mix of kind of map sizes and stuff in this game, which I kind of like. There's some decent variety there. There's a couple maps I really like. There's some that I think are pretty lackluster. So I'm kind of in the middle. But yeah, I think that's pretty standard. And of course, you get different opinions there too. Like I like slightly bigger maps, so you have more space to run. You can use different weaponry. Other people like the shipments of the world.
Maps. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In Call of Duty, people love Nuketown. They love Shipment. They love the one in Black Ops 6 is called, I'm going to forget the name now. Payback's a small map, which is the house. But there's another one where it's just a square. Right, it's just a square with some rocks and stuff, and you're just running around.
Literally, because Call of Duty players have no tolerance for like the 3 to 4 seconds where you're running and not getting into combat. When you respawn,
exactly,
and you run into combat. Which I do feel empathy for. That is the most boring part of shooters, is you die and you're like, oh, now I have to like go on a hike to get back into the battle. Like, yeah, I agree.
Well, a couple seconds should not be a hike.
I know, but it's such a
time is money, Ains.
Yeah, man, I can't be bothered in my video game to have to go and like go on a chore walk back into the map. This is some bullshit. So I get it. I get why you'd be upset with that, but I do think it's probably worth a 3-second walk if you don't get killed as soon as you spawn. But
yeah, and so but I will say, I've talked to a lot of people. I've played with a couple groups now. I have quite a bit of time in the multiplayer. I think that generally speaking, the consensus on this is very high, very strong. And I think people are really, really loving it. And I think that it does say something. I will say this, right, to be complimentary. Someone like me, who's not a big Call of Duty fan, I much prefer methodical team-based shooters, right, where it takes more strategy and whatnot. But someone like me who is enjoying playing it, going back to playing it, was up late playing it last night with friends, it says something about it, right? There is an addicting quality to it that has you returning to play more and more matches. So I think that's really good. Yeah, but that's it. So we'll talk a little more about that. Maybe we'll have some other guests on to talk more about it. But I think
I'll play before our next show, because I'm interested in this one. I have played every Call of Duty campaign. I think that is true up at this point. Yeah.
I just feel like sometimes Call of Duty campaigns get a bad rap. I know that I'm in the minority. The vocal, perhaps I think it's too hard. I really enjoyed Modern Warfare 3's campaign. I loved Modern Warfare 2's campaign. I feel like the COD campaigns get kind of hand waved by gaming.
Some of them are bad.
Some of them are bad, but I think on average, you're hitting more than you're missing. And there's a lot of enjoyable fun to be had. You know what you're getting with a COD experience, and it's going to be over the top, bombastic fun. I mean, violence and timing is one of the best missions I've ever played in a video game. That's from Modern Warfare, I want to say 2. You're hanging out underneath a helicopter by a string with your pistol upside down. Like, that's incredible. The ghillie suit missions are legendary. Like, there's a lot of great fun.
There's a lot of good experiences. Yeah,
absolutely.
Agreed.
And I hate that I agree with Hogue on something, but I remember that he also enjoys Infinite Warfare. I loved Infinite Warfare.
That campaign was great. That's one of the best campaigns.
It's a great campaign.
And so I think sometimes people are like, ugh, but it's nice to see this one well received. And Ains, at some point, I would like to talk about the Game Pass impact. I don't know.
We're doing it right now. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of the core of the content. I see some people in the chat, complimenting the fact that it did launch with full 3 modes. That is something to applaud, because it takes, like, the amount of developers and studios that work on Call of Duty is enormous. It is absurd how much money they put into that game. Of course, it's absurd how much they make. But I mean, there's a lot of work to deliver something like a Black Ops 6 that we don't see in the industry very often nowadays. So that should be applauded. But yes, talking about the Xbox aspect of it. First, Call of Duty under the Xbox banner, right? Since they acquired the Activision Blizzard, and obviously the first to launch into Game Pass, which, several months ago, maybe late last year, we were all kind of debating if this was going to happen. Obviously, it has, and I was reading some analyst predictions, and analyst predictions, be it what they are, they're sometimes close or sometimes way off. So there's some commentary I saw on IGN and other sites around like they're expecting that this could increase the amount of subscribers to Game Pass by 2 to 4 million people, which is certainly a significant portion when the majority of those people are probably going to be Ultimate subscribers, which is $20 a month now. So do the math. But of course, the other part of this conversation, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, Luke, is what does that do to Call of Duty sales? As we know, Call of Duty, and I think it was Matt Piscatella, shout out to Matt, who I was talking to the other day, who said that, Call of Duty has been the number one selling game, I think, across, if you look at like total all up, for 15 years running now. And so, if you have people like myself, people like I'm sure a lot of the Xbox community who traditionally have bought Call of Duty, is that going to impact sales? And maybe they're not the top selling game this year for the first time. So we'll see that too. But I think what I do like, right, is someone like me who's a very casual Call of Duty player. I wouldn't have bought this at launch because I just don't care about Call of Duty that much. But now, because it's on Game Pass, I'm playing it. And I'm playing a lot of it. As I said, I've played it consistently since the past couple of days. So what do you think, Luke? Like from an Xbox community standpoint, you run an Xbox show. You've talked to people about this. You were talking to David over at Gaming Trend yesterday about this. Like, what's the consensus around how we feel this is going to be an impact in the Xbox community? And before you answer, I'll also call out that Steven Totilo, who we mentioned earlier, had a report on Friday that part of Satya Nadella's pay, his incentive pay as the head of Microsoft, when it's tied to Xbox, and the metric that they're looking at in Xbox, excuse my wording here, is growth in Xbox content and services revenue. So if you're someone who looks at the quarterly financials like I do, because I'm a geek with this stuff, that is really where Xbox has focused in on, right? It's just content and services revenue, which pulls up everything. That's Game Pass, game sales, DLC, microtransactions. It's just how much money are they making from content and services? So taking that into account, knowing what this is going to do for Game Pass, but potentially do to sales, what's the general consensus that you've seen, and thoughts around this?
I've actually seen zero general consensus, and that's what is so fascinating to me. Wondering and trying to evaluate how we should go about looking at the impact of Black Ops 6, because if you're on Xbox, you have the option to play the game via Game Pass, which means you're giving them X amount of dollars a month, and not Ultimate's not required for it, but you're giving them X amount of dollars a month. If you want to upgrade to the Vault Edition, you can spend $30 and upgrade to the Vault Edition. If you're not on Xbox or not in Game Pass, or if you are on Game Pass and you can just buy the Vault Edition, fine, there's your $90, $100. But if you're on PlayStation, you want the Vault Edition, you're spending $70 to $100, depending if you get it on sale later or not. You're spending money. PC, you're spending money. It's fascinating to me to see that Modern Warfare 3 is now in Game Pass, but didn't launch into Game Pass. Black Ops 6, the one with the good campaign, that is how it seems to be perceived, is launching into Game Pass. There are so many ways to give money to Microsoft now because of Call of Duty, because it's now in cloud as well. I am just curious to know how they are going to measure. How do you measure the impact of Black Ops? Is it in uptick in sales? Is it uptick in Game Pass subscriptions, influx of cash? How do you evaluate that? I don't know whether they would rather have the $70 from PlayStation, the $90, $100 from the Vault Edition, or a Game Pass sub, because once you're in Game Pass, then you're accessing other titles. You could be spending money in other places. So I don't know what the measure is, and I don't think there is a general consensus. Are we looking to see Game Pass go up? Are we looking to see the number of people spending money in Call of Duty because it's a net win regardless. The only way this is a lose is if there are less people playing Black Ops 6 than there are Modern Warfare 3. That's the only way I see it being a net loss. So that's kind of the bigger point that I wanted to make, Ains, was I don't know how you measure success here. I know that seeing the critical success is a win. I know that we're going to see a lot of people playing it. Unless they give us numbers, I'm not sure how to evaluate it. But I am happy to see that it's getting the wins, because for all the talk about Modern Warfare 3 not being good, and it's the first one with Xbox, here it is. Now, Xbox is tied to the Black Ops 6 element. We don't seem to care if it's on multiple platforms. I feel like this is a nice win, and Game Pass subscribers are finally being rewarded with a complete, well-received experience that they've been asking for since Game Pass was incepted. This is a now all-around win, it feels like, for Game Pass subscribers.
It's a big release for Game Pass, no doubt, no question.
Right. So I hope that wasn't too wordy, but I did. That is genuinely my approach to it. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, no, a lot of feedback that I want to call out. So I put a poll up on the SG side of the house about whether Black Ops 6 being on Game Pass has impacted you positively. I think that's the most generic way to word that. I don't really know how else. There's so many different scenarios to Luke's point here. But I think one of the points you called out, Luke, that I wanted to touch on that people often overlook, and I've seen this in the metrics, and if you dive into Xbox's metrics and their interviews and stuff, this is that it's not just sales versus subscriptions. That's like the top level, right? And that is going to be looked at, of course. But the underlying level is if you get more players playing the game, so you introduce Call of Duty to new players. The other thing you have, right, is that they've traditionally seen when a game is in Game Pass, you incentivize people to spend money on DLC or additions in that game that they wouldn't have otherwise. That's literally in the data. And so if you have someone who, one, may not have bought Call of Duty at all, Black Ops 6, which frankly is me, or new people playing the game that would have not been interested in Call of Duty at all, knowing that they get it in Game Pass, they then may spend something on like the Call of Duty Endowment expansion pack that's in there now for $20. The Vault Edition upgrade, which Luke referenced, or future skins, that we know they're going to be hundreds of them eventually. Go ahead, Luke.
I did want to mention something about Endowment because you brought it up. And it's an aside. We had a good talk about this on XEP yesterday. The Call of Duty Endowment Fund is 100% going towards helping veterans find jobs and supporting them. Activision fronts the whole bill on it. It's one of the few good wins in gaming from big companies. It 100% supports veterans finding jobs and being taken care of. It doesn't, like, a cut of it doesn't go to Activision or anything like that. And if you are a veteran, you can go to the website and you'll get this pack for free. You just show your military ID. It took Bacon less than 10 seconds to do.
Hell yeah.
It is genuinely a good program, which, sometimes you have to wonder where your funds are going, but the endowment pack is 100% supportive. And as someone who lives in a military town, a lot of my students are military families, veterans in my family, I bought this one, right? And as a Game Pass subscriber, to loop this back to our connecting idea, sometimes when you get something good in Game Pass, you want to support the dev and you ask yourself, do I want to spend $30 to upgrade to support this? Do I want to spend money in a DLC because I got it via Game Pass and now I still want to support? The endowment fund is a wonderful place to put your money. But it is a different thing. So I looked at it as a charity, full on charity. Here you go. Have my $20. I get a great skin. It's all black. So you can be like Black Noir in the game. So you'll blend in with backgrounds and stuff. So if you want that sweat advantage, fine, but it's a good program. And so I apologize for monopolizing.
No, it's a good call up. It's a good call up. Yeah, it's they've done that in the past. I know they usually have some sort of endowment feature in the games. I don't know if it's been in every one or not, but yeah, it is up. That's the first DLC pack outside of the Vault Edition that's in the game. They announced it, I believe, on Friday right after launch. So that's up for $20, and yeah, definitely support that if you can. Couple comments here I want to call us. So Proxicus, one of our regulars, shout out to you, my friend. He said, or he or she said, I was not a COD player, now I am. And I clarified, so you first time playing because of Game Pass, and said yes. So there you go, right? In our chat, there's someone who's now playing Call of Duty who wouldn't have otherwise.
Nice.
Also, shout out to George Green on the Hogue side of the house, said, I'm considering resubscribing to Game Pass to check it out. I'm in the same boat as Ains. I wouldn't have bought it otherwise. So obviously very anecdotal here on our side, but it is, that conversation is out there as we expected it to be around playing Black Ops 6 because it's on Game Pass. The other thing to just quickly mention, which is obvious to people who play on Xbox ecosystem a lot, but that if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, you can play this on PC or Xbox or both. You get it everywhere in that ecosystem, which is a nice feature. And by the way, someone asked me, did I figure out my PC issue? Yes, I did. I'm not going to go into detail now, but I do have it working on PC now. It drove me crazy yesterday. Figured it out.
So when it comes to the whole like debate of like, hey, how does Xbox win with Call of Duty on Game Pass? I kind of find the argument silly because I don't think people who are talking about this know how Call of Duty players play games, which is that they play Call of Duty like for a long time, like 3 to 6 months at a minimum. And so I actually don't see a scenario wherein Xbox loses. They have casual players who now have access to the game, which improves the player base. More, am I frozen for you guys?
Yes.
You are for me, yes.
But it sounded like you were going to make a great point.
Yeah.
You've got a big thumbs up, so just make it a positive point and it works.
That's right. Wonder why this is happening, because it happened to you too, Ains, before the show.
Before the show, yeah, but yeah. I don't know. I blame Elgato.
This is not Elgato, guys. This is I think this is StreamYard. This is just a StreamYard thing. I guess I'll just leave and come back. Is that the thing?
Just hit refresh, on your browser. I'll add you back. Yeah. Sorry, guys, for the audio listeners in particular. But yeah, I think where Travis is going is, well, there you go. That didn't take long at all. So.
Easy. Yeah, it's just a StreamYard.
Go for it. Finish your point.
So
sir.
I don't see a scenario where an Xbox loses.
Mm-hmm.
They have it on Game Pass, which means the people who weren't going to buy it anyway now have access to the game. More people playing your game is a good thing, like always, right?
Of course.
The people who are hardcore are going to do one of two things. They're going to buy the game outright like they normally would have done, so Xbox loses nothing, or they're going to subscribe to Game Pass, which costs $20 a month, and they're going to do it for 3 to 6 months at a minimum, right? Maybe
and probably update to the Vault edition, which is another $30.
Yeah.
Yep.
The only thing they lose are the people who were subscribed to Game Pass for reasons that had nothing to do to Call of Duty and would have bought Call of Duty on top of this if it weren't there. That to me is a very narrow sliver of their audience. It's first of all, it's exclusive to Xbox players, which is already a minority of players in the gaming space, right? And then it's a very specific, like, interested in Call of Duty, but not enough to buy it, interested in games enough to be a Game Pass subscriber, but also to not to interested in Call of Duty. That's like a Venn diagram gets really small, the slice of people that are in that. And so I see this as a net win. They're either going to make enough money off of it being the Game Pass subscriber being a long-term Game Pass subscriber, or them outright buying it, and they're increasing their player base and adding all these new ways for people to give Microsoft money. I just don't see, I think the whole like, oh, they're going to lose a bunch of money because it's on Game Pass is a silly argument, frankly.
I agree.
I think they're going to crush it. And I think this is good for players. So you shouldn't really care about how they're going to make money anyway, unless you have stock invested in Microsoft, which I certainly don't. So I'm happy because it's available to me without me buying it. And I think most players should take that approach. But even if you are worried about the business, I don't think there's a good argument that this isn't a good move for them.
Well, the other thing is the people that are worried about the business, the people in charge, think this is a good move for them. Yeah, otherwise, they wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, it's also going to be a long-term play. Like, yeah, this is the first time it's been on Game Pass, and so maybe it's a little weird. But by the 5th time Call of Duty is on Game Pass, this is going to be part of their brand, and Call of Duty players are going to know that this is how they should digest the game. And so I think it makes Xbox obviously the place to play. It makes it way more likely for people to buy your console as opposed to the other guy if they are Call of Duty players, and a lot of people really just love Call of Duty. So I think it has long-term strength, this move. It has short-term ability to make more money. It gets more people talking about your game. And the fact that the game is good is, I think that was the big question, right? Because if the game wasn't good, I don't think any of this would have mattered. But the fact that it's good, I think that takes a lot of pressure off of them. And I think it's going to be a good financial choice for them. But even if it wasn't, like, who cares? More people have access to the game. You should be stoked about that.
Yes.
So.
Agreed. And I think, just to expound upon it a little bit, I think there's even further like ancillary benefits too, right? Like there's, we in this, we talk about all the time, we're in our little bubble of hardcore gamers and ecosystem, right? And we know all of these details and we take all these things seriously, or not so seriously sometimes. But like the people out there, so I'll give you an example. My good friend Bert, who I started SG with, people may remember him. I played with him last night, right? He has a local friend group, and we talk about this all the time here, right? Of 5 to 6 guys. The only video game they play is Call of Duty. That's it.
I'm friends with a bunch of those people. You met
every day
at my wedding.
Yeah, exactly. They play Call of Duty almost every day. They play it all year, and when the new one comes out, they buy the new one and they play that. That's it, right? The other thing that we'll do for players like that, they probably weren't Game Pass before. To your point, Travis. So they're either still going to buy Call of Duty, or now they're either subscribed to Game Pass to play it instead, which Bert might have recommended. But I think even players like that, the other ancillary benefit, right, is this may raise awareness to Game Pass as a service to players that previously didn't care about Game Pass. They're like, Game Pass, they play FIFA and they play Call of Duty. But now they're like, oh, Game Pass, I can play Call of Duty. What else is on there, right? And there's all these there's over 300 games in Game Pass right now, right? So all these other games that even if they might not have been interested in ever buying it or reading a review on it or looking it up or listening to our silly show here, they may now be on their Xbox console or their PC Game Pass looking at like, hey, that game looks cool. What's that? And try new things they never played before, right? So there's all kinds of little things like that you can't really line out in data lines so easily, right? But that just show up. And Microsoft obviously is going to be looking at all of these things intensely to see where all these different things are in their data that they do have. But I agree with you, Travis. I think overall, the conversation around whether or not this is a good thing is kind of silly. And I think that it's a good thing for us as gamers. And I think it will also be a good thing for Microsoft. But even if it isn't, that really shouldn't concern us. But I do think it is. I think they win on multiple fronts here.
Yeah, I think people really underestimate how much Call of Duty players play Call of Duty. And if you're subscribed,
it's bonkers.
If you're subscribed for 6 to 12 months just to play Call of Duty, how does Microsoft not benefit from that? I just don't. That's a lot of money. So
yeah. So it's good. I think it's been a lot of fun. As I said, I'm impressed. I mean, Call of Duty is so like foundationally their structure of their server base. They've built so much stuff up over the years. I didn't think they were going to have any issues on launch, but I think it's still a testament that a game this big with this many players launched really without issue. No problem finding matches, no problem with connectivity. I've had a great time in that regard, even if it's not my favorite game.
If you had a problem finding matches. I don't know.
We talked about hand waving earlier. The one thing I think Call of Duty needs to not be hand waved on is their file size problem. Their file size is remarkable, and it can't be the answer that's just Call of Duty.
Well,
they do need to find a way to
my problem with the argument of that is that people criticize it like it's a critique of the game. You know what I mean?
I'm critiquing the experience, I guess you would say.
Yeah. The user experience is pretty bad for Call of Duty.
A Series S is full if you have Call of Duty. And if Microsoft is planning to make this their trend, they're going to showcase this piece. They do need to find a way to address that and not hand wave that, because I do think it's a bigger issue than sometimes we acknowledge it to be. It doesn't impact me very often, right? It's
how many gigs is this?
Well, again, Call of Duty is a suite now, right? So you download the home and then you install all of the things individually, which is a good feature.
Yes.
But you have BO6 campaign, BO6 multiplayer, Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer, Warzone campaign, Modern Warfare 2 Warzone campaign. You know what I mean? So like if you have everything from the last 2 years, it's like 312 gigs or something like that.
Yeah, but most players aren't even downloading those campaigns. They're just going multiplayer, install. That's it. Multiplayer.
Tim Purr in chat did he said they kind of addressed this based on the pick your download.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like it helps.
It helps, but I don't think it's a good enough answer when your Series S only has, was it 500 gigs?
It's 400.
512. Oh yeah, well after the OS,
OS,
yeah. So there is, I think, an issue there that does need to be addressed somehow, some way. Right?
I all I hear, Luke, I think the point you're trying to make is that the Series S has ruined yet something else. And that the Series S just damn that console. It's ruining the industry, in my opinion.
It's true.
Can I just make a quick thank you to Ainsley Bowden? He summed up my argument so well because I didn't have the words, and now I do.
Yeah. Damn the Series S. Damn that console.
Yeah.
The Series S is awesome, by the way.
Why is the Series S is holding back my Switch?
It always has been.
True. Yeah. Even before it came out, that was the problem. Nintendo. Yeah.
It's good that you finally recognize that, Travis.
Yeah. No, it's good. We're all smart people here.
Yeah. We nailed it. No, but you're right. It is kind of crazy. You don't expect those. If you look at other games in that vein, it's still kind of vast in terms of the memory it needs, and there's probably a lot of reasons we don't understand as to the whys, but it is interesting to see. Let me get Sid's super chat here about the topic.
Siddharth Shishokar, 200 rupees, says, what exactly are people trying to gauge here? Microsoft is going to make a ton of money regardless. An interesting thing would be how much people start to associate Call of Duty with Game Pass from a brand value point of view. Yeah, I think that's the long-term benefit, right? Is Call of Duty is now an Xbox thing, especially maybe not this year because I think most casuals are probably not even going to really understand what's going on, but a couple of years from now they'll get it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it's gonna be cool to see evolve. Exactly what we said. So, Sid, thank you as always. Appreciate the support, my friend. If I can get back to the right window here. Just to be, everyone knows we're being sarcastic, but in all seriousness, if you aren't in the Xbox ecosystem and the proposition of Call of Duty Game Pass, what we're talking about, interests you, the Series S is a fantastic option. It really is. It's an awesome little console. It's cheap as hell to get into. It runs, as long as you don't want to run 4K max settings, it runs most things really, really well. I was playing the Black Ops 6 beta on the Series S while I was on vacation. Ran great. So all jokes aside, it's an awesome little piece of hardware. All right. Where was I here? Anything else you want to touch on Call of Duty before we move on, fellas?
Nah, I'll play it this week.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be playing this afternoon. It is addictive. I do this with Call of Duties. Like the pick up and play, shoot things quickly does get me, but after a couple weeks, I drop off of them. I know I'm in the minority there. I get, but I'm in that phase. It just came out, so it's fun. And to the point about people playing the hell out of Call of Duty, no joke. By Friday night, there were guys in my lobbies who were ranked 55 already. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they literally just nonstop.
It's me, dude.
So the only other thing I want to mention this week, couple small points, is the Yakuza TV show is out. Launched on Prime on Thursday, I think. The first 3 episodes. So Like a Dragon Yakuza.
3 episodes. Wow.
3 episodes. That's what Prime does. They do that 3 launch and then they do 1 per week after that. Yeah. So I watched the first episode. We don't have Dan here, sadly, to talk about it. I watched it with my wife and I kind of explained to her very quickly the background of it. I will say about halfway through the episode, I looked at her. I'm like, this isn't good. Oh, no.
So I have a question about the show because I'm definitely going to watch it, but is it made by a Japanese company or is it American actors doing a Japanese story?
That's a good question. I think it's all Japanese actors. I don't know who the company is that produced it. I will tell you it's filmed in Japanese because the English voiceover doesn't match at all and it was driving me nuts. So I quickly switched it to Japanese with subtitles. But it's just, I can't tell if they're going for it being, it's almost like it's over the top goofy and kind of cheesy, but not in the fun way the games are. Do you know what I mean? Like the games have that kind of serious story with the goofiness side stuff that you enjoy. This is just straight goofy so far anyway. So I've only watched the first episode. I'll watch the other two. My wife already told me she doesn't want to watch anymore. So we'll see how it goes. But I'd love to hear anyone else's thoughts on it in the chat. But yeah, it's we'll see if it gets any better. So.
Yeah, it looks like it is Japanese produced. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have been my choice, right? Like I would have made it with like American Japanese actors, and because I don't know, I feel like that level of cheese is I really am curious about the show. I'm gonna watch it and then I'll have thoughts. I'm gonna watch all 3 episodes this week.
It's kind of hard to capture that tone. And the other issue you have with a show like this, right, is you're representing a game series that has been around for a long time and has a lot of people like the Dans of the world who are very hardcore into it and have an expectation, right? So it's like I'm not that hardcore into it, but you do have an expectation. It's like, how do you capture that at least to a degree? It's like the Halo show. We've talked about it ad nauseum on the Halo show. Like there's a 20-year foundation of what we expect Halo to be. And the Halo show didn't do that. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't know if Yakuza is going to end up the same way. We'll see.
I think my feeling is that like a lot of Japanese shows are already really cheesy, unintentionally so. And so I feel like they risk it seeming like it wasn't on purpose. And I feel like it would have, and also their problems with like their ability to do comedy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious about this one. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
It sounds very funny.
It's feeling more and more, and I know some others have said this, it's feeling, at least after the first episode, it feels like it would have been better as an anime or something animated. Yeah, but we'll see. So some people in our chat are saying, it's so bad. Level of cheese doesn't work in TV. So yeah, we'll see. We'll talk more about it next week.
I think it could work in TV. You just have to make it clear that it's on purpose. And I feel like I just don't think that the Japanese TV shows have that level of trust. I think a lot of them are unintentionally cheesy, and I think that's the problem. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm really interested in this one.
Yeah. I mean, at least Luke likes it. So they've got one. You know what I mean? It's
I'm very much aware that people love it. This is my inner Dan moment, right? I think that stuff is stupid. And I don't know. Like rock on for anybody that is enjoying it, but I will never probably watch that show.
So here's a good example is somebody brought up One Piece in the comments. Like One Piece is also really cheesy, but it's made by an American studio that like knows how to nail that type of comedy. And it's clear to the audience that they're trying to be cheesy. I guess that's my
that's what I can't figure out. And at least in the first episode, it's like, are you trying to be this?
That's why.
Or like,
I don't think Japanese TV shows know how to nail that comedy for at least for Western audiences. And so I feel like there's like the viewer's going to be like, wait, is this trying to be goofy or is it just bad production? And I feel like if it were an American studio, that would be much more clear. But yeah,
the American or English voice acting is oof,
atrocious. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. That's fine. I'm gonna watch it with subtitles for sure.
I will say,
trust me, please do.
Oh no, I did because like the Squid Game, like I wouldn't watch that with like.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Luke.
Oh, just that I hate it for people that were really looking forward to it because we all love the Halo franchise, and then that Halo show kind of just kicked us in the shins every week. They're like, this part's really good, but we want you to feel pain, suffer. And so I hate it for anybody that wanted it, you know?
Yes, agreed. Great. The only other thing I was going to mention, just to shout out Hogue and Dan, who both aren't here. I expected Hogue to be here, of course, is that a random stat this week is college football 25, EA's, big return to college football, which Dan and Hogue talked a lot about, is now the best-selling football game of all time. It has passed every Madden, every game that released before that. So it just goes to show you the audience for this game and college football in general, especially in America, of course, which is where, I'm sure the overwhelming majority of sales are. But pretty crazy to see that after 20, how many years? Yeah. But after 20, however many years of Madden, when was the first Madden? 91, 89, something like that. It's been a very long time. that this is the best-selling game of all time, like 3 months after release. So
speaking of Call of Duty's players, they're feasting because all my friends, my casual gaming friends, play Call of Duty and football games and FIFA.
And so they're football club.
They're crushing. They must just be so happy right now. Swapping between college football and Call of Duty. Man.
Dude, yeah, football club, college football returning, and a good Call of Duty. Yeah.
Dude, they're just living. I better check in on your casual friend. Make sure that they're remembering to go outside and stand. That's what I say.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, boys.
Make sure he's okay.
Well, boys, I think pretty straightforward show this week. I think that's going to go ahead and wrap us up. Chat, you've been very fun today. I will say the poll that we had has Black Ops 6 being in Game Pass impacted you in a positive way. So 73% say yes. So that, that's good to hear. That's what Microsoft's looking for. So good stuff. As always, thank you for hanging out with us, Luke. Well, let me just call out. Next week, we've got a few things. Life is Strange Double Exposure releases. The new Life is Strange on the 29th. I think Don's actually covering that for us as well, Don Lionheart, before Dragon Age. Then we got the official launch trailer for Dragon Age Veilguard, which we talked to Sean earlier. Comes out this week. Very cool to see BioWare and Dragon Age back. We'll talk a lot about that next week, of course. And then don't forget that No More Room in Hell 2 also releases on Halloween. So want to check that one out as well. I hope I can find some time to do that. But yeah, some good games this week.
We also have our conclusion to our bet next.
We do the pizza bet, and we have a funny Papa John's pizza we may be using for it.
That's right. Papa John's is selling a jack-o'-lantern shaped pizza, and my proposal was that whoever wins has to eat that, and I want them to send a photo. And based on the people I know who are playing Dragon Age, it seems like it's pretty good. So I think I have a good chance of winning this.
I know. I look back now and I'm thinking, why did I go 79? That feels low.
Because there was so much negativity around the game in the lead up to it. I think people forgot that like Dragon Age is pretty cool.
And it is, but if I had to guess now, I'd probably be 84, 85.
Yeah. I won 81, which I think is probably going to be.
You Price is Righted it, basically.
Yeah, I really did. Yeah, but to be fair, I didn't do it on purpose because remember we did it blind. We showed.
Agreed.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, Luke, if you had to guess where Dragon Age is going to be, Open Critic today,
83.
You get the advantage. 83. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think he would probably win with that score.
Agreed. Yeah, I think so too. We'll see. We will see. Luke, I want to thank you again for jumping in on such short notice. Please give it up for Luke. Please check out Xbox Expansion Pass. He did us a big solid this morning, and he literally had an hour notice because I woke up to a message saying he wasn't going to make it. So really appreciate you jumping in. Really appreciate the conversation. As always, please shout out where people can find you and your show.
Oh, of course. In general, I'll just say if you search up the Xbox Expansion Pass, I would really appreciate anyone here that hasn't checked it out to go and check it out. Support your content creators if they're making stuff that you enjoy. It really does help us to see the likes, the views, and then any other time people go. And you have a tremendous community of super chatters and channel members. And I will say that the XEP community is just wonderfully supportive as well. And I would love for anyone here to be a part of that community because I really enjoy getting to just wake up every morning, and our Discord is just so kind. Good morning, everybody. Like, we cover Xbox for anyone that's unaware, but we love video games. We are always talking about games across multiple platforms because we love video games. So that tends to be the nature of my community. And there's a lot of crossover. I see Game Positive and Nisa and Gentle Stone here. And so
I hope we share that community for sure.
Yeah, so I hope that anybody that hasn't checked out XCP will be willing to do so. So check out some recent review. I did the Retro Realm stuff. I'm working on some stuff coming out. I did an interview with the Dead by Daylight lead just a week and a half ago. I've got two really cool interviews coming up. One of them pretty stalwart. Yeah. So just check out XCP. It'd mean a lot. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, the interview you have coming up, I'm really excited for you for. That'd be awesome. Travis, what you got, my friend?
Yeah, you can catch me on the show that I host, Xbox Expansion Pass. I got some cool interviews coming up. Or you can visit my independent journalism site, Season Gaming, that I run.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very good.
I've heard it's good.
No,
I've never looked at it personally, but
yeah, I know. What do I got going up? I've got a preview I still can't talk about, and then I've got a review of Path of Exile 2, which I think is still a couple weeks away. So it's a little bit of a break for me, which is why I'm catching up on games like beating Star Wars Outlaws and all that. So yesterday I caught up on Destiny. It's still not good.
I haven't even heard you talk about that in a long time.
I know. I was a season behind, so I went and I beat last season, and then I caught up on the current season. So, Anyway, that game's still going. I don't have much to promote. Go watch these things. We'll do Xbox expansion pass. Luke works really hard on that show.
He does.
Ains works kind of hard on season gaming, so you should.
Here and there, once in a while. Hey, in all seriousness, I got the best PR offer for content coverage that I have ever gotten. I told you about it this morning. I can't say it. It's under embargo. So more to come in the next couple weeks, but I'm doing something very cool that I've never done before. So
proud of you.
I'm excited about it. Man.
I don't know what it is. I'm just happy for you.
Yeah. Cool. We'll talk outside of the show, obviously. Sure. So, but anyway, chat, you've been awesome as always. Audio listeners, thank you as always. Appreciate all of you. Hogue should be back next week, hopefully not sick. And we will talk about Dragon Age, the first BioWare game in a very, very long time. So it should be a great conversation. We will see you then. Enjoy your gaming. Enjoy your Black Ops 6. Go shoot some people who spawn right in front of you. Until next week.